Okay guys, welcome to week 4, our final week of our lockdown flexibility series. If you've been following along, what we have been trying to do is trying to progress the stretches for flexibility every single week. So if you joined in week 1, we kind of introduced the exercises and we kind of did 2 rounds. So you're doing them for sort of shorter periods. Then we started to increase the length of time in week 2. Then week 3 we started to introduce a few different movements, so reaches, nods and holds. And now what we're going to try and do in week 4 is kind of progress everything all together, everything all at once, and try and take it to the next stage. So as always, all you need today is going to be a band or a towel, something along those lines. You'll also need, or you may also need a wedge or a yoga block or another rolled up towel that you can place underneath your hips to help tilt your hips back. And you may also need an additional weight, okay? So those two are optional, but you will definitely need a towel or a band and a mat to go through those stretches. So what we're going to look at to begin with is going to be our single leg lower downs. Now I am going to use the wedge to prop my hips up to make it a little bit easier, to keep my lower back pressed into the floor. So what we're going to look at again is that little wedge, that rolled up towel underneath. Actually, I'm going to shimmy down just a touch, just so I can get my head onto the mat. And from that position, looping the towel, looping the band around the bottom of my foot, up into the air, and then with my free foot, just into that lower and raise where we're at 10 minutes. So we're going to spend a minute and a half on each leg. Now again, what we can do with this is we can actually use those reaches. We're going to do lower body reaches, so I'm going to try toes out, change that stretch slightly, try toes in. See if that makes a difference. I'm going to try and point my toes up towards the ceiling. I'm also going to try and flex my foot, bring that in. Also, even if I look in slightly different directions, that will change the tension through that stretch as you go. You can try as well, especially if you've got a band, you can actually stretch that band down. And that almost creates a little bit of opposition because you're actually trying to push your foot towards the ceiling. You're almost pressing into it. So you're not pulling back that way towards your head, you're pulling down towards your hip. A band tension. You can still do it with a towel, it's just much more difficult because the towel won't stretch in the same way. That's good. So again, a minute and a half, another 10 to 15 seconds. Keep that lower back pressed in. Another way to keep that lower back pressed in, bring your shoulders up. So you're bracing through the core. Because quite often when we're trying to do anything that involves the hamstrings, we're not bracing through the core, and because we're not bracing through the core, what we're actually ending up doing is not the hamstrings actually being physically tight. The hamstrings aren't allowed to switch off because it's a protective mechanism. So it's to help protect your lower back, to help protect different structures around your body. So you want to try and make that easier for your body, for your hamstrings to switch off. And to do that, you brace the muscles above. You brace through the core, so you're pressing that lower back into the floor. I've lifted my head and chest slightly, so I'm keeping braced throughout. I'm still trying those different positions. Toes in, toes out, not just on the foot that's being raised and lowered, but also the foot that's staying in the air. That's about a minute in. I'm going to go for another 30 seconds. Again, I quite like that toe flexed, pulling right up each time, pressing the lower back into the floor. A little bit of opposition through stretching the band. Again, push back into it each time. Last couple of seconds, then we're going to come into our Jefferson curl. So our Jefferson curl is that standing variation. Change into that in 3, 2, 1 and switch over. So like I say, we're into that standing variation. This is where you may need that optional extra weight. So again, standing, I know I've cut my head off in this one, but we're going to try and tuck your chin in. I'll do 1 rep from a standing position. We're going to spend 2 minutes on this one. So again, just slowly curling into it, trying to reach as far as I can, still breathing steadily. When you reach kind of the peak of that stretch, just play about that head position. Can you reach to one side? Can you reach to the other? Can you actually physically reach behind? It will change how that stretch feels. Slowly use the hamstrings, glutes to draw back up. For the curling the head in, you're still tucking the chin in, trying to give yourself as many double chins as possible, and then slowly rounding through the upper back. That's what we're aiming to do. So again, from a standing position, if you are using the additional weight, so I've just got this kettlebell, I'm still tucking the chin in, curling down, dropping head and chest and arms towards the floor, pushing down into that stretch from the bottom position. Again, I'm not going to do the reaches, but I can play about with the nods. I'm still breathing steadily, I'm not holding my breath at any stage. I can sink a little bit deeper. I can almost rest the weight on the floor, but I'm not resting the weight on the floor. I want to keep it under tension. So I'm just holding it just off the floor. Then we want to come back up, using the hamstrings, using the glutes, bringing myself back up to standing. Coming up towards 2 minutes. Again, curling in slowly. Just pushing the hands, pushing the shoulders forward and dropping down. Remember holding that bottom position, hamstrings and glutes, draw back up to stand. From there, let's move that out of the way. We're going to come into your single leg hamstring pulses. Single leg hamstring pulses. So again, that's dropping down onto one knee, one leg out in front. And again, what we're doing, trying to push chest forward, feel that hamstring stretch, and come back. And again, we're going to go 1.5 minutes per side. Each time you come forward, squeeze the glutes, push the hips forward, feel that hamstring stretch each time. Drive back, feel that stretch, come up. We're also going to start to use those reaches. So again, I'm going to reach to the inside slightly. I'm going to reach to the outside. Actually, I find that one to the inside much more useful, much more effective. I can sink that a little bit deeper. You can also reach, so to speak, with the foot, so you can turn toes in. You can try and turn toes out in that stretch. So that one actually feels quite interesting for me. We're about halfway through this side. Remember, each time squeeze the glutes. Don't let don't let the ribs flare. We're not trying to lift the chest up super high. We're trying to keep the core engaged. So even if you want to keep one hand on your chest, on your ribs, to make sure that you don't flare those hips. Each time you squeeze the glutes, you actually feel that stretch on the hip flexor as you push forward. Again, find the one that's most effective. You can even, now I'm doing a full rep all the way out and back. You can even come into much shorter range and actually just oscillate in and out of that most effective stretch. Keep breathing steadily. Again, what you might find is that with that little oscillation, that little in and out, you're able to get a little bit further, a little bit quicker. Now, because this is obviously week 4, our final week, you can actually start to push that pace a little bit more. Push that. Again, it should never be painful, but you should be used to it's being uncomfortable. Again, I'm going to throw in those reaches, like the other side. That reach diagonally in, I find quite effective, so I'm going to stick with that one quite a bit. oscillation in there, a little reach, that little pulse, just holding yourself in those more challenging positions. Again, what you're teaching your body is that you're in control in these positions. If you're in control in these positions, that suddenly makes things a lot easier for you to maintain. And if you can maintain that position under tension, under control, your body, your brain will allow you to get into those positions a lot easier. The reason, particularly with the toe touch, is that your body won't allow you to get into that position is it feels like that's a risky position. If you are essentially reassuring your body that that is not a risky position, you are actually comfortable, you are in control in those positions, then that's brilliant. You are under control. You are in position. So what we want to look at is the wall stretch. I'm going to try and advance that one. You can come into that standing quad stretch as your alternative. Okay, so you can do that one. I'm going to come into the wall stretch instead, so I need to readjust this mat. And the wall stretch, if that's too advanced and you don't want to do the standing version, remember you can still do the sofa stretch or the chair stretch where you have one foot up on top of the chair. I've got knee in close to the wall, got knee in against the wall actually. And then from there I'm going to try and bring my foot up. That's quite tight today. So I've been doing a bit of running over lockdown, so that's quite tight there. So that's as far as I'm going to take it right now. But again, I'm going to try and throw in those reaches. So I'm actually going to look around, look back at the wall over my right shoulder, try and look back over my left shoulder, look back between my own legs, even look ahead towards the camera. Again, those change the point of tension. From there, that movement of the head leads the body, changes that body position. It's quite intense for me today, so I'm actually going to just spend 1 minute on each side. You can spend a bit longer if you wish. Again, you can see I'm just oscillating, I'm just moving in each position. Trying to change my hip position, change that stretch ever so slightly. That's quite nice, moving my hips from right to left, just eases and then re-tightens that stretch. That's a couple of seconds, and then we're going to swap sides and do the same thing on the opposite side. So foot up the wall, so you may not be able to see. Let's try and drop my body down so you can see. So yeah, my foot is up against the wall, my other foot comes forward, and I'm going to play about in that position. Yeah, there we go, just so you can see the timer. Again, find that moving my hips from right to left was quite effective. Or you can go look over the shoulder, same kind of effect. That look back, that look forward. It's quite effective on that side as well. But again, what this whole series has been about is, yes, it's been about improving your flexibility, but also it's about trying to provide you with the tools to improve your own flexibility. So this is flexibility for the inflexible. So we are what we repeatedly do, and if you repeatedly get into these positions, even for a little while, you will be more flexible. Good. We're then coming into our final pairing, which is going to be those calf raises 3 ways. So again, I'm just going to do this one. I might spill some paint off the wall onto my foot. What we're going to do is those calf raises 3 ways. So just going to spend 30 seconds on each variation. So straight up. Again, what you can do is look around. I know you can't see my head, but you can look right to left. You can tuck your chin in. You can look up. We'll change how those feel. You can even on this one, Make sure you've got nothing to bump into around you. You can close your eyes. It actually makes the balance suddenly so much more challenging. Then from there, we're going to turn that into toes out. So we're going to go toes out. So ballet dancer style. I can also throw in those reaches, so I can reach forward as far as I can. I can also try and reach to the side. Obviously, if I reach to one side, I'm going to try and balance it out by reaching to the other. It just gives that different feedback. Ooh, remember I said I've been doing a bit of running? I can feel this very quickly. Good, and then the last one we're going to go is toes in. So toes in, knock knee style. And again, you can throw in those reaches. We'll try and reach overhead. For this one, really stretch up. Ooh. Suddenly harder to balance. As now the centre of gravity has just been raised slightly. That's a good thing though, it actually feeds into that same stretch we talked about before. Just getting your body comfortable, working on those new positions. Okay, from there, we're then coming into our 45-degree calf stretch. 45 degrees. So you can do the standing version if you wish. So the standing version, just really quickly, was that 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, drive the hips forward into it, and then the other version was to drop the knee down as well. We're trying to keep that back foot flat. Instead, I'm going to do the 45-degree version, which was to come down onto one knee, to bring that foot out to 45 degrees, and then to push your body weight forward over the top of it and attempt just to use your own body weight on this one. So I'll just show that different angle. So again, down on one knee, comes out to 45 degrees, and then from there I'm pushing my weight over the top of it, and then I'm just trying to use my body weight. Now for this one, those nods, at least, well, maybe that one, have a little bit of an effect, but the reach may have more of an effect. So that reach further out, you can definitely feel more of my weight has gone on to the calf in that direction. And try and reach slightly to the inside. And make that position. So that feels quite tight the whole way down the back of my calf. I'm going to spend another 45 seconds in that position. Again, I'm just going to ever so slightly, and I'm trying to keep my foot flat. All I'm doing, you may be able to see this on the video, it may be so small that you can't see it. Just oscillate in and out of that stretch. Still trying to push into it. Just that little grease in the groove. Just essentially kind of flossing that one move. So like you floss your teeth, that in and out. That's just in and out kind of movement for that. Last couple of seconds on this side. And then we're going to swap sides, we're going to do the same thing on the other side, 1.5 minutes. So again, foot comes forward, foot comes out to 45 degrees, and then you lean your weight over the top and allow your body weight to do the work. Again, throw in those reaches, and that reach slightly to the inside. There's where I find it most effective, so that's where I'm going to hang out. Still got about another minute. Again, ease off, because what I'm finding on this side is that my heel is starting to lift. So I'm actually going to come back, lie on my thigh. That's actually going to restrict some of my movement because I'm actually lying on top of my thigh. But it means that I can keep that heel down on the floor and I can get that oscillation in there. Again, just working in and out of that position. About another 30 seconds. Again, if you're doing standard variation, remember to do some of it with the leg straight, some with the leg bent. You're still trying to keep the foot flat on the floor. Last 10 seconds, give or take. Still working that in and out in that position. This is the last stretch of today. from there, relax. So that is the end of video 1 on week 4. So it's also the end of video 1, the series for video 1. If you've enjoyed that, guys, let me know in the comments below. But this shouldn't be the end. This shouldn't be the end of the series. This should hopefully have given you a short-term improvement in your overall flexibility, but also it should also have given you a much longer-term ability to work on your own flexibility. So this can be incorporated. Like I said in the first couple of videos, it doesn't have to be done every single day. It doesn't have to be. You don't even have to do the full video every day. You can just do bits and pieces of each video as you see fit. Okay, so you can throw that into your cool down. You can even throw it into parts of your workout. So those calf raises, you can do them under load. You can do those under load and then put in the stretch immediately afterwards. So it doesn't have to be. You don't suddenly have to become devoted to trying to do the splits. That's a perfectly valid goal if you want to do it, but you don't have to be fully devoted to doing flexibility all the time, but it should be a part of your overall regimen. Like I say, guys, if you enjoyed that, let me know in the comments below. I will see you very soon for video 2 of week 4 and the very last video, video 3 of week 4. Other than that, guys, well done for following along. This is Neil, signing off.